Here in Spokane, from downtown, you can be on a trail within 5 minutes drive in any direction. I mean, literally in every corner. And what a beautiful place to run.
Kids in Spokane are taught by their high school coaches the legends of the time. They're not going to let the history die.
If you ran, people would roll down the window and spit on you.
Really? Yeah. That was the running culture.
But pretty soon it just kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Pretty soon it was kind of cool to run.
Over the years, of course, the site went away quite quickly, and started running with other people then.
Virtually every time I drive away from running with him, I feel like a whiny little kid. He transcends all of life's problems, or seems to anyway.
At every corner of the city, you've got another natural preserve that's got nice hiking trails, rocky outcrops, someplace where you can get out and beat the dirt. That's a big part of what we've done here too, is just introduce people to trails on a consistent basis. And so that trail training group is actually 8 different stops and 8 different trailheads across, or right outside of our city.
We have a group that we like to pull together of new to trail running and also people who are new to the Spokane community to help introduce great new Spokane trails to them. Tons of trails exist here that are just fantastic right out our back doors, right just minutes from the city. And so it's really great to get people out here, show them the different places. Tonight we're running a trailhead called Military Cemetery into Riverside State Park.
Yeah, I mean, the system of trails in town, you could go from where we were at Military Cemetery down behind the cemeteries, connect to Overlook Park, and then run across the river, across one of the bridges, and connect up into the bluff. And the bluff is another 30 miles of trails right off the South Hill. An open hillside, beautiful trails and trees. And the community is just like anywhere, it's just accepting. I mean, they're ready for new runners. There's a performance aspect to it, but there's also a fitness aspect to it. And what a beautiful place to run. I mean, we've got beautiful trails, we've got great trails to get off-road on. It's just a jewel to be able to do that within moments from your own town. That takes off at 5:45 so you can get out of work, have enough time to get to the trailhead, go for a 3 to 5 mile run out in the trails. And you know, every year we do that, we get 20, 30 people who want to just come out and learn, how do I get out into the outdoors and run?
I absolutely love trail running, and I consider myself a teacher by nature anyway, and so I really love taking people who are new to trail running and talking about how they can trail run successfully to overcome some of their fears, the intimidating part of it, that sort of thing. I am by no means a fast trail runner. I just really love being out in nature like this, and that's what I love passing on.
I found out early on that this kid has a gift. He really had some talent.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, neither did he, how good he was. But he was terrifically courageous. And when he was a senior, he beat the Russians, #1 and #2 and #3 runners in the world. And Jerry in the Coliseum with 80,000 people there.
80,000 people.
there.
Wow, that's like rock star status. Yeah. You coached the most iconic runner to come out of Spokane, Jerry Lindgren. From my understanding, that really started the running boom, not just here in Spokane, but in the Northwest, in the country.
Well, I think there's some truth to that. However, prior to Jerry, Spokane had some terrific runners.
And you're very modest about it, but you've kind of had a hand in a lot of these kids who came up and grew up in this culture, including Don Cardong, who was fourth in the Olympics.
Yeah, he lived with us when I was training him for the Olympics. In fact, the story kind of goes back earlier than that. He went to Peachtree, which was in Atlanta, for a run. Came back and he says, Coach, we should have something here in Spokane. And we could tie it in with Lilac Festival. We could call it Bloomsday. And that was the beginning of Bloomsday.
How big is that race? Because I know it's one of the bigger ones in the country.
Yeah, biggest one in the world, time race. But we've run over up to 60,000 people, and they come from all over the world. My wife and I did the announcing for 30 years. I think the people in Spokane, to a large measure, embrace not only putting on a quality activity, but also being a part of that activity. One of the reasons that it's great is that everybody feels that they could be a part of something unique. And the beautiful part, Matt, is that we've got this incredible run, and then we've got the Centennial Trail. How much more beautiful? You got this massive river, waterfalls, and beauty to the left, beauty to the right, beauty all over the place, and you can run all the way through Spokane, clear out to Coeur d'Alene, clear into Montana, and be on the Centennial Trail. How much better does it get? And it would have never happened if it hadn't been the influence of Don Cardong. It's being embraced with our running community and Spokane in general. Our Central kids, they go out to the Bull and Pitcher, all kinds of trails.
You graduated from North Central High School in 1949.
Absolutely, Matt, you got it.
And so when did you connect with him and decide to come back to North Central?
And my son was down there coaching, and Coach Kelly kind of thought it'd be fun to have daddy and son. North Central has won 11 straight state championships, and they've won a couple earlier, but not like that. And we thought we were done, but I don't know whether we're done. We may win another one.
Well, and you guys won nationals.
In 08, yeah.
It is interesting coming to a place where being in contention for the national championship is the norm.
And that's the way the kids feel. The Spokane area, doesn't matter whether the fairest group of kids or Meade or West Valley or Central Valley, because the bar is so high, you got to get up to that bar to even be in the ball game.
Yeah.
And so I think success and tenaciousness breeds success and tenaciousness.
One of the reasons I came to Meade High School was because of the culture of Spokane. Prior to Meade, I was over at a place called Shorecrest in North Seattle. And I think what I found is that west side of the state, coaches and teams were never beating Spokane teams. And for whatever reason, Spokane has dominated for years and years, and I wanted to be a part of that. There was an old TV show called The Wonder Years, and I think Spokane was still living in what they call the Wonder Years. One thing about when you're out of school for 20 years and you're getting to the state meet 18 years in a row and you're always on the podium, we got plenty of pictures. So I bought my house purposely for the wall space, not for bedroom space. This gentleman up here above, up on this wall, that's a guy named Matt Zweifel, one of my first runners, and a really cool kid. When he was going to be a junior, one of his goals during the summer said, we are going to win the state title. We have what it takes. And then there was this unfortunate accident where he was killed in a car accident. It was pretty traumatic, but we would come back and win the state meet, our first one in my era, and we dedicated it to Matt Zweifel. And he had a philosophy to go out hard, first mile go out hard, second mile take charge, and the last mile smile and have fun. That was his motto, and we used that motto. We just loved that kid. So we ended up creating this culture. We had a locker room, a clubhouse I call it. We had AM runs. It's kind of a typical thing in Spokane. Everybody goes out for a morning run. High school kids do. It's part of the culture. These kids all bought into year-round training. That's part of the culture. My goals were to see how we could take Meade and build it into something very, very special like previous teams in Spokane had, like Ferris of Spokane, Rogers of Spokane. One of the things we try to build is the Mead family, where whenever we win state, we'd bring just about everybody, moms, dads, grandparents, community people, administrators, teachers, and put them in on the award stand with our runners. So it really became part of our tradition. I know that North Central does that today, Ferris. Maybe we've become more of the Spokane family today. We're all pretty integrated. So what we're looking at here is, you have to have your roots. I would graduate from Oregon in 1973, and this is Oregon's first NC2A cross-country championship team. Randy James, Spokane guy, Ferris High School, presently teaches at North Central High School, Spokane, and then myself and Prefontaine. This is the team that some would say was the best team in American history. Some of the legends of Mead, this is a group that was the top guns. It's Guy DeTrey, Rob, Aubrey, Micah Davis, Matthew Davis, Greg James. Matthew winning Foot Locker West, where he beat Meb Kofletsky. I think a lot of people know that name. So these are the guys that carry the tradition of Spokane and followed in the footsteps of Rick Riley and Jerry Lindgren that kind of really brought running to the highest level, really, really inspired that generation.
I'm Bryant Mckinley. I've lived here in Spokane now since it was called Spokane Falls in 1889. No, that's not quite true. I've been here probably since 1946, my parents moved here. It's been 30 years since I lost my sight. I started the bicycle races in Spokane in 1978, the only races we had. For many years I ran them here, and then because I got to where I couldn't cycle by myself anymore, my ex-wife and I decided that we would start running, so we did that, and I ran with her the very first Bloomsday, and I still had some sight at that point, so I ran with her for the first 3 miles and then ran the last of it by myself. But over the years, of course, the sight went away quite quickly, and started running with other people then.
I saw a newspaper article a number of years ago. It was a human interest story on Bryant, and it detailed how he was probably going to be sidelined because the guide that he'd been running with for quite some time was dying of cancer. And I've quite openly, I've been a taker most of my life, and I thought, it's probably about time that maybe you give something back to the running community. And so I went out on a limb, and he insisted on interviewing me to see if I'd make the cut. And so I went over to his house one day, and even though he's got a horrible disposition and is always cantankerous, I decided that it would be okay if we ran together.
We've been doing it probably for 7 or 8 years now. And I keep telling him to use a deodorant, but he doesn't. And I have to run behind him, and it's really tragic. We run Bloomsday every year for 7 or 8 years. And ever since we've been running, I think we've been definitely in the top 6 in our age group. We combine both of our ages, it makes us 140. No, never mind, that isn't right. I run in the 80 plus now this year.
I put the age aside. To be visually impaired at any age is a challenge that I can't even understand, but virtually every time I drive away from running with him, I feel like a whiny little kid because he has always got the best attitude. He's always happy and smiling, and without sounding too metaphysical, he transcends all of life's problems, or seems to anyway.
I enjoy competition, enjoy trying hard, and even if I don't win, I enjoy giving it a real good effort. And of course, when you're in better shape and you've got the blood flowing and whatever, you just naturally feel better, and I get that out of running. When Roger and I are running Bloomsday, we get many slaps on our backs as we come up to them or they pass us, saying, good to see you guys again. And like I say, it's the camaraderie and the social aspect of Bloomsday is a wonderful thing. I've done well over 30 of them though. And why is it important? Well, it's a great celebration of spring and life. And I've never heard an angry word spoken in all the Bloom Stays that I've done. It's a neat happening.
We have hundreds of miles of paved running trails. The Centennial Trail is my personal favorite. The reason I like running the Centennial Trail is it's mindless. I don't have to do a lot of thinking about which direction next, and it can be very much a moving meditation for me to just, settle in and run and not think.
On the Centennial Trail here in Spokane, which, as we all know, runs all the way from 9 Mile Falls to Coeur d'Alene, which is about, I think, 40-some miles. And even now, in areas where I'm familiar, I run by myself and can run 7 or 8 miles by myself.
I think once you start running on a regular basis, there's always just kind of that next goal to reach for. So you're half, and then people are like, "Oh, have you ran a full marathon?" And then it just kind of creeps in, and you think, "Well, maybe I could do that." Especially if you go to events or like Ironman, and you see people of all body types finishing, and you're like, "Wow, if they can do that, I should be able to do it." So definitely just that competitive kind of background in me. I wanted to kind of reach that next goal. So yeah, I had finished my marathon at the end of September and decided I was going to do a sprint triathlon that next spring. So I had a friend who was a swimmer, and so we decided we'd just train at the Y that fall, kind of get ready for the next spring. So in November, we were swimming at the YMCA, just a regular normal day, dropped my kids off at school, finished the swim, got out, we had showered and were changing, and all of a sudden I just felt like I got the wind knocked out of me, and I kind of sat down and just kind of held onto my chest and said, "Oh, I can't catch my breath." Didn't really think much of it. My friend who was with me had 10 years before been at swimming lessons with her daughter and observed kind of a similar situation where a woman had a heart attack, and afterwards the women in the locker room were talking about that shortness of breath is one of the first signs of a heart attack for women. And she immediately knew that it was serious. But she didn't want to scare me, so she was like, "Let's go out in the lobby." So then the Y director came down, and he quickly assessed, and said, "We've already called the ambulance." As soon as they wheeled me into the ER, they said, "Ma'am, you're having a heart attack, and so we're going to get you to the cath lab and get some stents put in." And I was in the cath lab within less than an hour of onset from the symptoms at the Y. So I had what they call the widowmaker heart attack. So 95% of people die from a widowmaker heart attack. So definitely feel fortunate to be here.
I was there when it happened, not physically in the room, but at the pool, and it was definitely a cathartic moment in our life when we realized, oh, I've got to change something. I was on the road 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month for the job that I had, and after a heart attack and coming back from that, her recovery, I really wanted to be home, and that was the impetus to starting the store. I mean, within that year, I left that job. We contacted Fleet Feet. I decided that it was time. It was time to get local, do something here, and I wanted my kids to experience community in real life. In my previous career, I really wasn't connected to people in our own community. I'd travel to the places that I work, and when we left that and started the running store, now you're embedded in your community, you're meeting people every day that you know out on the street, whether you're fitting them for shoes or training with them or have like goals. I think, I just wanted to show my sons and show my family that there's a different way to live where you can be involved with your community, be involved with fitness, be active and happy. We're all a lot happier when we're running.